Oh, if only the 49ers could play the Rams every single week. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Niners Nation Instant Reaction podcast. I am Rob Stats Guerrera here with you. Please excuse my voice. I am fighting something, fighting a cold, fighting something. I don't know what it is, but I know I feel a hell of a lot better now that the San Francisco 49ers have destroyed the Los Angeles Rams 31-14 as I welcome in my friend and colleague Levin Black. Levin, if only we could play the Rams every week.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we needed to see. So it gives you optimism going into the off week. So at least there's that. They certainly made adjustments. It seemed like they finally turned the corner in the second half. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like it just felt different. The energy seemed to really pick up in the fourth quarter, especially. It seemed like they kind of really started believing in themselves, got that confidence and swagger back.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because D'Amico Ryans told the Fox broadcast crew, that they lost their swagger defensively, that they didn't have it, that the last 2 weeks against the Falcons and the Chiefs kind of, rightfully so, took them out of it a little bit, and they regained it, in the second half. In the first half, it was dicey, but they adjusted, like you said. They kind of checked all the boxes this week, right? Kyle Shanahan, 7-30 when trailing at the half. Niners went into halftime trailing. The offense looked absolutely broken, right? Niners after halftime, absolutely spectacular, scored 21 points in the second half. The Rams scored 0. Jimmy Garoppolo throwing deep down the field, had a chance to seal the game and put the game away. Ross Dwelly is just left wide open on a blown coverage by the Rams, and Jimmy puts it on him and steps on the throat. It was everything that we have not been seeing from the 49ers. They did it all today.
Yeah, it's one of Jimmy's best games as a 49er. He had a couple of things early in the game, weren't great. He underthrew McLeod there on the deep ball. He had a near interception at 1.2. But overall, I think he had probably his most efficient game. And right up there, I would say, with the Saints game when he threw for, nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns for his best game. I think he was 21-25 with 2 touchdowns. Just really efficient. And he made the adjustment that I talked about on our Gold Standard podcast this week.
Yeah.
When the clock hit 3 seconds, he looked for McCaffrey. Just dump it and get it gone. He was not throwing it over the middle late, and that's why I think you saw a much better game from Jimmy, because that's when Jimmy has problems.
Yeah, they even said, Greg Olsen said on the broadcast, the knock on Jimmy is he doesn't get to his third read. I mean, he had maybe 1 or 2 questionable throws. He had one Jalen Ramsey that should have been intercepted that was dropped. But for the most part, Jimmy took care of the football. He was under some pressure in this game, but there were another that play to Dwelly I loved because he dropped back and the Rams kind of had everybody on the right side and Jimmy just kind of slid to his left and there was nobody there. And Greg Olsen even says, like, he's got a ton of time and he just stepped up, took his time, and made the play. And it was something that we don't always see from him, but it wasn't, within 1 to 2 seconds after the snap. He actually had to wait for it to develop a little bit. He did that. He hit Dwelly, and that was something that he has not done consistently, and he absolutely did it in this game, and he deserves credit for it.
And I think his 2 best throws of the game were both the touchdown throws. Both of those were highly difficult throws. He had to get the first one to McCaffrey just over the defender. I think if he threw it long, probably Kittle ends up catching it because Kittle was coming across. But the Kittle touchdown, I tweeted at the time, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but that is certainly one of the best throws of his career. It was, if he underthrows it, it's picked. If he overthrows it at all, Kittle's not going to be able to get to it because he's at a dead sprain. He's not going to be able to get up. He had the back of the end zone right at his heels. He had to make the absolute perfect throw. And at the same time, it was him rolling out a way that is worse for throwing. He's got to stop, turn, pivot, and then he doesn't have any of the momentum coming into the throw. So it's all kind of just your hip twisting to create the torque needed. And he was able to make the perfect throw. Like that to me is, on a difficulty scale, that's probably a 9 or 9.5 out of 10.
And we have to mention Christian McCaffrey. James watching on the YouTube page. Thanks for the super chat. The game changer, Christian McCaffrey. 1,000 million billion 100%. And
He was the
Flint
difference.
on the YouTube
If
page,
the Rams have
CMC.
him, it goes.
Yeah,
This is the
right.
exact opposite. If the Rams have him, they win this game 31-14. You know, that was the difference. If the Rams had Christian McCaffrey as a weapon, the 49ers wouldn't have had an answer.
This one game alone is worth the 4th round draft pick that the Niners had to throw in to get this deal done, because that reportedly is what it came down to, because the Rams were going to essentially offer the same thing. CMC is the key to number 6, according to Flint, watching on the YouTube page. McCaffrey in this game, especially in the first half, was the whole offense. 18 carries for 94 yards for McCaffrey with a rushing touchdown, 8 catches for 55 yards and a receiving touchdown. And 1 for 1 throwing the ball with a 34-yard touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. He's the first Niners running back to ever do that. First running back since 2005, LaDainian Tomlinson, to have a rushing, receiving, and passing touchdown.
It's only the 4th time in history
in the same game. Why you got to one-up me with the stats? It's supposed to be a happy time. What are you doing?
They said it. Well, actually, I don't know why they said it the way they did on the broadcast. They said it's only the 3rd time since 1978. Why wouldn't you just say 4th time overall?
78 is a weird cutoff, but
well, it's because that's when the 4th one happened.
Right. Unbelievable performance. The Niners absolutely had to have it in this game. Everything, they were backed up against the wall, 3-4. Seahawks were looking good today as well. And you can't, if you lose this game, you go to 3-5 with a loss hanging over you into the bye week. The division it's not good. And they absolutely had to have it. And I'll say this too. The Niners held together in a way that the Rams did not. The Rams got chippy in this game. Jalen Ramsey was trash talking with freaking Robbie Gould. Jalen Ramsey was arguing with people on the sideline. Allen Robinson had a big 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty after a catch on 3rd down to convert. The Rams, you could tell it is in their head. This whole Niners 7 straight victories in the regulars, that whole thing, it's in their head and it messes with them. And when things start going right for the Niners, it kind of spirals for them. And it was nice to see that happen to the other team.
Yeah. And this is the exact kind of game script that everybody was saying Christian McCaffrey could be bringing to this team. And if he does, look out. And that was like you talked about, like he was pretty much the whole thing in the first half. Well, that's what you need. You need somebody to keep you going, make something happen. So at least you get some semblance of an offense when things aren't going well. And then you get into halftime and the defense is going to adjust to the one guy that's doing anything. And then Shanahan's able to create stuff off of that. And that's exactly what happened.
It was absolutely beautiful to see. And I have to give Shanahan some credit too, because, we had talked about, you can't just have Christian McCaffrey running the same thing that the Niners have been running. Like, you don't want to run the same plays just with different people. You wanted to see them use him in different ways to open different things up. And I think you saw that starting with his touchdown pass to Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, we called for that. Let's see some desperation.
Yeah, we
some
did.
Trick plays out there. And that's exactly what you saw. Like, the offense needs something. Like, what do you stand to lose at this point running a trick play? And, well, you saw what they stood to lose, a touchdown.
It was beautiful. D-Ware watching on the YouTube page. Do we just get a win and come out unscathed? Was anyone as scared as me having McCaffrey on that last drive run 3 times on the turf, put in TDP or Mason? Well, Ward was hurt early in this game, and I tweeted out, the Niners have had a starter get hurt literally every single game. He was back, though. So he came back. I don't remember seeing anybody else get hurt, but look, we're a long way from that.
Right.
Who knows?
Certainly the Rams are more concerned with the cup injury at the end than the Niners are with injuries. Yeah,
we didn't think that Debo was hurt coming out of last week, and then we found out on Monday that he was hurt. So it's far too early to say that. This was amazing to me, just the difference in the halves. Like, the first half was so frustrating to me because it was kind of similar to what we've seen, right? It was that the Niners could move the ball down the field, but then they stalled and it just sputtered out. Like, perfect example. Ray gets a return to the 37-yard line after the Rams' second touchdown. And the Niners get the ball and they're driving down the field. Boom. No problem. They get 1st and goal. 2 minutes left in the game. In the second quarter, excuse me. McCaffrey runs up, gains very little. Then they have to call a timeout, right? 2nd down, sack. 3rd down, Christian McCaffrey catches it and looks like he fumbles, but he doesn't actually fumble. It ends up it's incomplete, and then they kick the field goal on 4th down. And they got 1st and goal, and they ran 3 plays after that, and they lost 4 yards, and then they kicked a field goal. And that was kind of the offense that we had seen from this team the past few weeks, and it was just like a continuation of that, and it was so frustrating. That did not happen in the second half of this game. The second half, they moved the ball. They figured out how to finish. Niners possessions in the second half. Punt, touchdown, 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 punt. And really the last punt, they weren't even trying to score. So I basically don't even count that. They figured it out in the second half, and it was chef's kiss beautiful.
And I think we need to point out one more offensive player here. Brandon Ayuk was essentially the only thing on the wide receivers for this week. The only other wide receiver to get a catch was Ray McLeod, and it was 1 catch for 11 yards. All the other wide receiver production came from Ayuk, and guess what? He had 6 catches on 6 targets for 81 yards and a touchdown. So Ayuk showed, I think, today, yeah, he really is a number 1 wide receiver. Without Debo being able to take all the attention away, he was able to consistently beat the Rams. He was open constantly, and he produced. Like I said, the only other wide receiver to get a catch was Ray McLeod, and it was 1 catch for 11 yards.
And we don't know for sure that Debo is going to be back after the bye. He told Kyle Shanahan told the broadcast crew there was no chance Debo was going to be able to play today. So, he said Monday he was day to day. We don't know if he's going to be back, but you're right. It's nice to see that Ayuk can step up if they call on him. Kevin Dennis on the YouTube page. Why was CMC in during garbage time? I actually did think that myself. Why does Kyle coach with no fear of injuries when they're the most injured team in the league every year? I was thinking that too. But Kevin, let's be happy today. This is a huge win for the Niners. Saves their season. We got to be happy today. As of right now, we don't know of anybody, who's seriously injured. Can I give a little credit to somebody on the defensive side of the ball? Because I thought that Fred Warner kind of returned to form a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
He had some plays.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say he had some plays rushing Stafford that he was good. He had some plays in coverage over the middle where he would have to carry Kupp for a little while and then step up and make a play on the pass in front of him. I thought Fred played much, much better than he has because he has not really been great the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I pulled up the box score before we hit record, and scrolling through it, he instantly jumps out. He led the team with 12 tackles. He had a sack. He had another tackle for a loss. He had a pass deflection, and he hit the quarterback twice. I mean, he kind of did everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the all-pro Fred, and that's what they need with the other 2 linebackers being out. Like, they need Fred Warner to be enough by himself at that linebacking core.
They need all-pro Fred. I mean, you said it, and luckily they got it this week, and it was massive. It made such a big difference for this defense. And look, there's some naysayers out there. It was the Rams. You always beat the Rams, whatever, and that's true. But let's just be happy today. Like, we'll worry about all that stuff later. Kevin Dennis is still frustrated. Thanks for the super chat. What does happiness means? It means we're still alive in the playoff hunt. We need CMC. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I feel you, but damn, Kyle, WTF. Yeah, okay. But as of right now, he's not hurt. So again,
I get what he's saying. Like, there's no reason not to have Jeff Wilson in there getting the garbage time carries where you're just hoping, despite a 9-man box, they break free and get a touchdown and can end it early. I get it.
Chris Maldonado on the YouTube page. Levin is the GOAT. Why do I have to read this? What's the bed with big mouth Ramsey and kicker? LOL. It's crazy how our kicker gets under his skin. Anyways, my wife Isha says hi. What's up? Thanks for watching. Appreciate that.
Didn't they get into it last year?
Yes. I think you're right.
What caused them to get into it? Ramsey and Gold have been getting into it.
They kicked a field goal, or Ramsey was talking trash before a field goal. Something, you're right. They had some sort of an altercation. It's like Robbie Gould's on the field for like 6 plays a game. How could you
that, and it's like Jalen Ramsey. If that's where you got his smack talk,
right?
Like, just sit down and be quiet.
Yeah, big man.
No credit comes whatsoever from smack talking the kicker. Like, that will never get you anything but ridicule. What happens? You say the perfect thing. Nobody cares. You're trash talking a kicker.
Exactly. Steven watching on the YouTube page. Jalen Ramsey acts like a spoiled child when he gets burned or is losing. I kind of agree. He does.
A spoiled child even when he's not getting that. He is very, very much a diva.
Shaki Chan watching on my Twitch page at Stats on Fire. Feel free to subscribe to that. To be a competitor for a Super Bowl, we have to play like the second half at all times. None of this first half, one half on, one half off. I agree. Like, that's what the 49ers offense should look like. And again, they didn't have Debo, and they went right down the field in the second half. So we see that they can do it, right? They don't have to have their full complement of guys to move the ball. That's what you're supposed to be able to do when you have an elite play caller.
I'm sorry, I'm just distracted by that awesome name there, Shaki Chan.
Shaki Chan.
Like it made me think Shaq should come back out with his Shaq Fu and call himself Shaki Chan.
I'm not gonna lie, like I was terrified when I saw the comment because I was like, oh, that's a good comment, but I'm not sure I can read the username. And then I was like, oh, it just kind of clicked into my brain. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. So thank you very much, Shaki Chan. Shout out to everybody should follow you on Twitch. How about that? I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to get to in the game. That touchdown that the 49ers scored after, so like in the second half, they finally get a stop on the first Rams possession of the second half. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Here's your chance. And 49ers go right down the field. If I'm not mistaken, I think they only had 1 third down on that entire drive. And it was the final play of the drive.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Full
Christian
disclosure, I had a
McCaffrey.
2-year-old that was climbing on me this entire game.
Yeah, that was the play, the touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey was the only third down in the drive. That was another great play by Jimmy. Actually, it was a great play by both of them because Jimmy drops back and he steps up in the pocket. There was pressure coming off the edge. He stepped up in the pocket to buy himself more time. And McCaffrey was not supposed to do what he did, which is really impressive considering he's been with the Niners for like 9 days. McCaffrey just floated out into the flat to kind of just be like an afterthought in the play. But once he saw Jimmy step up, Christian just drifted towards the end zone, and Jimmy, to his credit, saw him and threw it up there. It was in a spot where only CMC could get it, and McCaffrey made a hell of a catch for a touchdown. That was a massive, massive drive. It gave the 49ers a lead, and it helped to flip the game script in San Francisco's favor.
Yeah, how about this? Just did some quick math. 2 touchdown drives by the Rams in the first half, 163 total yards. They had 223 total in the game. That means they got 60 yards in all the other drives combined. I think they might have had 8 other drives. It's either 7 or 8. So they didn't average even 10 yards a drive other than those 2.
In the second half, the 49ers outgained the Rams 230-61. And, in the first half, I was so frustrated because it seemed like the Rams completely had DeMeco Ryans figured out. Every time the 49ers blitzed, the Rams happened to be in a perfect screen pass, and they just completed the screen and gained all the yards. It seemed like they were one step ahead of DeMeco Ryans in the first half, and it was super frustrating because of, kind of the way the defense has played the last 2 weeks. But in the second half, I don't know what DeMeco did. Hopefully they'll get into some of that in the post game, but damn, did it work.
I got to look this up. I'll probably tweet it out later after we're off because I can't really look it up right now. There were no turnovers for either team in this game. When's the last time a Niners game had 0 turnovers by anybody? Like that. That's not very common. Time of possession was also 29 minutes and 56 seconds to 30 minutes and 4 seconds. That's one of the closest I've ever seen. It's almost perfect.
Jesus watching on the Facebook page. Well, hello, bandwagon. Since we won today, I guess you guys are all talking trash like a couple of games ago. Yeah, because they played like crap a couple games ago, and they've played like crap for the majority of the games this season. Like,
when your instant reaction, if they win and they look really good and they win by 17 points, you're probably going to be talking better about the team than when they get boat raced by 21 points.
Would you prefer that we talk trash right now? Like, do you want to get into the 49ers' terrible offense in the first half? Like, we could talk about that, but I don't want to talk about that. We should be happy. If you can't be happy after a win, like, damn. Especially this is one where hopefully, fingers crossed, we didn't have any major injuries. Ross watching on the YouTube page. Second half defense was great. Defense still needs some work. Screen passes are still a dagger. Great win, though. But here's the thing. That was the Rams' whole offense. If they were not moving the ball down with screen passes, they were not moving the ball, period. And once that stopped working in the second half, we saw, like we just talked about, they didn't do anything.
And the one play that they would love to have back, that Higbee drop, that was kind of like a highly advanced, unique screen.
Yeah.
because that was the tight end coming all the way across the motion to 3 receivers basically being offensive linemen already blocking on a screen pass.
And
I
that
do wonder if that had been caught, if a flag would have been thrown. A lot of times on that, like, pick plays, they don't throw the flag until it's actually caught 'cause they're not gonna bother if it's not caught.
that drop was a massive, massive drop. It was a
Only
10
7 points
point
at that point, right?
it was a 10-point game at that point. And you're like, all right, the Rams are maybe trying to get back into it. But after that, they run into McCaffrey for 3, and I'm like, I don't know. Is Kyle just gonna try to run it out? And then boom, that's the 56-yarder to Ross Dwelly. That
Yeah.
was Kyle deserves credit for that too, right? He didn't get conservative in that possession. He went for it. He didn't wait and hope that the game came to him. He took control of the game. Now, maybe it was a blown coverage by the Rams and it wasn't supposed to be that big of a play, but whatever. He didn't run the ball again and then have to pray to God on 3rd down. They passed the ball. I thought they let Jimmy pass the ball a lot on 1st down today, and they put the game in his hands a little bit, and it worked. That play to Dwelly was a friggin' dagger, man. Christian McCaffrey, and then the touchdown pass to Kittle. And once it was 31-14, it was all over with the shouting.
I think that drop was definitely the gut punch to the Rams.
Yep.
Like, that was wasn't just the, like, momentum wasn't on their side. That was just the, all right, it's not our day.
And I want to point this out too, because Josh Delgado makes a good comment. Watch on the YouTube page. Drops like Higbee's is the kind of luck you need sometimes. Exactly. Like, it's okay for good things to happen in the 49ers' favor. And
that and the McCaffrey fumble.
oh,
that was incredibly lucky. There's one Niner anywhere in the vicinity that's going to be able to recover that, and he's already on the ground,
right?
Because he fell down, and it happens to literally pop up and fall right into his feet.
Unbelievable. But you know what? They took advantage after that. Like, every team gets lucky plays. The ones that win and the ones that are good take advantage of second chances. And the 49ers did. Jeannie Reeves watching on the YouTube page. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I love my present. Go Niners. Happy birthday, Jenny. Sorry, did I say Jeannie? That's my bad. Jenny Ruiz, happy birthday. It is nice when the team wins on your birthday. Should be happy. Shout out to
my birthday's during preseason period.
Shout out to the 49ers faithful, by the way, once again, taking over SoFi Stadium. It's just pathetic at this point for the Rams. Like, it is pathetic. On the good plays, you hear a roar from the crowd. It's like, this is supposed to be a road game.
And it's, I don't know how much we can say it's pathetic for the Rams instead of just pathetic for LA, because the Chargers have the same thing. Chargers have it even worse, from what I understand. And LA is just that type of fan base.
Well, when you don't have a team in the market for decades, that tends to happen. Fugazi56 on Twitch. Love the Twitch usernames tonight. CMC is a 49ers star after just 2 games. He's singly responsible for today's win, and his presence raises the play of everyone around him. He is just the boost this team needed to get back on track. The thing I like about it, too, is you're running the ball to Christian McCaffrey. Great. And then you bring in Jeff Wilson Jr., and he made some nice plays with fresh legs. They actually had him out wide a couple times. He had a couple of, I think, did he have multiple receptions or was it just one that's popping in my head? No, he had multiple receptions. I really liked the offense. I thought it looked a lot different than the 49ers have looked recently. And that's a credit to Kyle. And hopefully when they go into this bye week, they can, take what worked, take what didn't, tweak some things here, and come out of the bye week with a little momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it was the passing game, the part that I liked, 7 different people got catches, but it was pretty equal across all the different positional groups, if you want to call it that way. The running backs, they combined for 76. The wide receivers combined for 94. And then let me do the math real quick. And then the tight ends combined for, I think, 101. So you got all 3 levels and position groups contributing in a big way. That's really hard to stop because that means it can come from anywhere for the defense, which means you got to spread out.
The Niners had 4 tight ends active for the game. Now, part of that was because Ross Dwelly had basically taken over Kyle Juszczyk's job as a fullback. But again, that was something that we don't usually see. They used him in the ground game. They used him in the receiving game. It was exactly what it needed to be. Team up against the wall. You got to rely on Christian McCaffrey, your new star. You got to rely on your play caller, Kyle Shanahan. And 21 points in the second half later, you get a 31-14 win. A win, Levin, like a nice kind of not totally easy because it was close for a long time, but like it wasn't white knuckling through the whole thing.
Yeah, and It was very, very relaxing fourth quarter, put it that way.
Yes.
Which is not common at all. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, I mean, you were still kind of nervous right at the start of the fourth quarter, but then they scored in the first possession in the fourth quarter, and at that point, you knew it was kind of over.
D Pino Jr. 84 watching on the Twitch page. I love listening to you guys. Your instant reaction shows. You always tell it how it is. Even though you guys are fans, you're not holding back on how it really is. You are awesome. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Appreciate the compliment. I feel like everybody likes us when they win, right? It's when they
Not
lose.
everybody. We had the one negative comment.
Well, that's true.
I'm looking here right now.
Go ahead.
I think the Niners, as it stands right now, are in the playoffs.
Oh, well. Card. Okay, but like we got a long way to go before that.
It's nice to be in playoff. Yeah, they're the 7th seed right now, due to a tie break with Washington. It's nice to be in the playoffs going into the bye week.
I have been so locked in to the Niners game. What is even happening in the late games? It's okay. Seattle won.
Seattle won.
The Commanders won.
And then Arizona lost. I guess that was an earlier game.
Yeah, Arizona's such bad.
Kingsbury might be the next coach to go. Another loss or two, and
that's a shame. Edgar watching on the Twitch page. Stats, you and Michelle lost the weekly bet on Jimmy G and Stafford being intercepted. I know we both took the over when it was 0.5 because usually you hit that every week, thankfully. Although Jalen Ramsey did have a ball that was literally in his hand. Stafford actually didn't really give the ball to the Niners. He's usually good for one throw to the 49ers every week. Stafford is tough as hell, man. Somebody stepped on his hand. Did you see that? That dude is a friggin' piece of iron as quarterback. If he's your quarterback,
he didn't step on his hand. Somebody else one of the Niners had their hand stepped on.
Is that what it was? There was
somebody on the Niners had their hand stepped on, but Boza, when he sacked Stafford got his kind of arm or his wrist pinned, and it kind of snapped. I can't remember who got their hand stepped on.
Dak got his hand stepped on. I remember that.
Dak, that's what I'm thinking of. I was watching that game. That's why.
Tantara, I don't know. Sorry, I apologize if I said your name wrong. Watch on the YouTube page. Let's give special teams some credit today, boys. That's fair. Ray McLeod, he did field one kickoff at like the 4-yard line. That was a little frustrating, but he had some good punt returns today. He really did. Let's see, 2 kick returns for 66 yards, 3 punt returns for 34 with a long of 15. I have to give him a little credit. I thought he did well today. He made me nervous because I always think he's going to fumble, but he didn't.
You want me to keep it real? Woohoo, you did your job for the first time all year. Like, special teams didn't allow a big return. Whoa, and they had like a decent return themselves. Yahoo. It's been bad when you're excited because somebody had like a 20-plus yard positive play for the first time.
I'm going to ask this question, and I don't mean to be a downer, so forgive me, but is this a 49ers offense is back on track now, or is this the 49ers know how to beat the Rams? Because I said before the game that even if they won, I wasn't going to assume everything was hunky-dory. I still don't, but I put it to you, Levin.
I would say they're not back on track because they're on a completely different track. Like they're not back to the same one. Like this is a different offense because McCaffrey. And once Debo comes, like there's going to be some wrinkles thrown in here during the bye week. They got time to kind of figure things out, add more wrinkles, do more than just kind of the basic. McCaffrey wasn't running advanced routes in this game. He was the dump off a lot, and it worked. But they could add a lot more motion pre-snap with him, things like that, get it more complicated. As far as if anybody says that, they just know how to beat the Rams. All these games are offensive shit shows. So like all the Rams games versus the Niners are not good offensive games for either team. So I don't see how you could say, well, it's just the Rams.
So I'm seeing a quote from Kyle in the post game, and I'm going to have to go back and listen. He said, I really felt today more than anything that not one thing stuck out in offense, defense, or special teams. Not one player was above the rest. Really proud of the whole team. FYI, he did praise McCaffrey for the first 5 minutes of his presser. Yeah, if one guy stood out above the rest, Kyle, it was Christian McCaffrey. Again, I haven't heard the quote, so I have to see. But, I mean, like I said, this one game alone is worth that 4th-round pick. They absolutely had to have it. You're missing your biggest Rams killer in Debo Samuel, and McCaffrey delivered, and he delivered big time. There were a lot of passes that he caught short of the sticks where he broke a tackle and ended up picking up the first down. Like, he did it all today, man.
Yeah, there were a lot of plays in this game that if it wasn't CMC, it would not have been a first down, and the Niners
Right.
would have been punting, and this would have been a typical Rams game where it's 17-14, 2017, not a good offensive game. And he really is the difference because the first guy always misses. Even there's the one where he's catching the ball, and the moment he catches, you think he's getting tackled right away because there's a guy right there. But right as he catches it, he knew the guy was there, even though his back was turned,
Yes.
and he spun the moment he caught it. And the
Yep.
defender missed. Like anybody else is catching that and getting nailed in the back right away.
And I want to get to this comment. Sugarnaut watching on the YouTube page. CMC saved Captain Checkdown. No, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't usually check the ball down. That's his problem. He doesn't throw it away, and he usually doesn't check it down. He usually tries to force it over the middle. And I think you brought this up, Levin, on Thursday. The fact that Christian McCaffrey is there, I think it's in Jimmy's head. He knows he can just check it down to him more than usual, and he did that a couple of times today, and it worked.
Right. It's the adjustment I said he needs to make because we didn't see that in the first game. He
Right.
wasn't like, oh, crap, it's been 3 seconds. I've gone through my first 2 reads. Where's Christian at? And that's what you need to do when you have a running back like that. And it's an adjustment he had to make. And to be fair, I said my confidence in Jimmy being able to make an adjustment at this point in his career isn't the greatest, but he made it. It's very clear that the moment he got through 2 reads, if it wasn't there, he was looking down, taking his eyes from downfield closer, figuring out where Christian was, and trying to see if he could dump it.
Good. And that's what you should
That's
do.
what you need.
There's
That's the whole point of him.
Wrong with that. That's why he had 8 catches in the game. T&K Hunting Gear, thanks for the super chat. Why do people always throw in the fair weather fan comment? It's okay to ridicule the team when they do bad and praise them when they do good. That's our philosophy here on the show, and I don't know how you could do this job any other way. There was another comment that I wanted to get to, and now, of course, I can't find it, which is very annoying. But good job, Niners. Good job, Christian McCaffrey. I apologize for that. I just totally lost my train of thought, Levin. Save me.
I mean, there's still a lot of things we can talk about on the defense. I mean,
I
the
found
adjustments
it. Hold
they
on.
made.
I remembered. Okay. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Right.
We
forget my save.
Yeah. Terrible job by you. No, we always talk about how with Jimmy Garoppolo, like when they don't hit the opportunities that are there, it's so frustrating because he doesn't make big plays, and so those mistakes, those missed opportunities seem bigger than they are. Well, in the first half, Jimmy's got Ray McCloud open, deep, running past 2 defenders. He underthrows it a little bit. Ray McCloud, so he can't go up and make the catch. And it was like, oh, here we go. I started on my notes, like another thing we're going to be talking about. But like we say, when you're a good offense and you're moving the ball and you're scoring points, those plays don't matter. Guess what? We're 30 minutes into the show, and I'm just mentioning that Ray McCloud drop now. That's what good offenses do. They don't just have 1 or 2 chances to make a big play. They have multiple, and they hit on them, and the Niners did it today.
You just had me thinking there. I didn't pick up on this the first time, so I'm going to circle back. It's not just that Ray McCloud's 1 catch for 11 yards was the only other wide receiver catch other than Brandon Ayuk. It's the only other targets. Wow. That deep pass that did not happen and the 11-yard reception are the only other wide receiver targets. There was no targets for any other wide receiver. That's kind of insane. There were 3 tight ends that got catches.
Danny Gray can't buy a target.
So that is kind of different. You wonder if that's going to become a thing where it's pretty much you got the 2 receivers, which obviously would be Debo in the future. Debo and Ayuk, and that's it. They're going to use the other guys. They're going to change this up because McCaffrey can be like a wide receiver, and they're going to utilize the tight ends more and forget about that 3rd wide receiver.
How about this tweet from Matt Mayoko? On Thursday night, Kyle Shanahan said he asked his coaches if anybody knew if McCaffrey could throw. Tight ends coach Brian Fleury found a clip of McCaffrey throwing his 50-yard touchdown pass in 2018. Boom. The play was put in the game plan. They used it. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey to Brandon Ayuk. That's awesome.
Yeah, I actually tweeted that out when I was looking at how often somebody had a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown and discovered that Christian McCaffrey was one of the 52 instances already in league history from 2018. Kind of
CMC,
insane,
man.
And shows that he is a true offensive weapon. You know, I think he's one of those guys that you put in that same category as Debo. You don't say position, you say offensive weapon.
How about this? Kyle Shanahan after the game. No injuries to report. That is awesome. And that is a direct quote from the head coach. It's about damn time.
Yeah. It does make me wonder whether Ward's thing was cramps or like how's there no injuries to report if Ward went out at one point. Or it might just be the same injury and it flares up every once in a while. Who knows?
Ooh, I like this. A little spiciness. Nick Bosa after the game. Quote, I was surprised they gave up a little early.
They
How about
did.
Nick Bosa?
No, you saw that. That wasn't the play. Let me say this. I don't know if he's meaning the players, but McVay gave up early too. It was a 17-point game with like 5 minutes to go, and he was just running the clock out. Like,
yeah,
there's 5 minutes. If you score quick, you're right back in this thing. Like, what are you doing?
but the full quote is, I was surprised they gave up a little early. Like when they ran the ball on third down with 6 or 7 minutes left, I wanted some more pass rush opportunities. I guess they didn't have confidence in coming back. Bam.
Yeah, that struck me too. I didn't realize it was a full 6-7 minutes to go, but I remember seeing them come out and right after that last touchdown for the Niners, and they're running. And I'm like, why are they running? They need to go down and score quick. And then they ran on third down too. I was kind of flabbergasted by that, thinking, wow, McVay's kind of thrown in the towel already.
I'm surprised, but I mean, look, maybe that's part of the reason the Rams do always stay healthy. You know, he didn't try and force it. He didn't try and
you got to keep going. That might be why the Rams are 3-4 because they're content with one Super Bowl. That's what I would react to that with. We won a Super Bowl. They don't have that same fight in them.
Well, that's what I said on Thursday. Is there less urgency from the Rams because they know in the back of their heads they won a Super Bowl last year? You poo-pooed it. And now you're on my side.
I mean, their head coach and their best player did seriously consider retirement. And I do think that has an effect in a locker room. When your coach is openly talking about, maybe at some point I'll retire soon. It's like, well, screw this guy.
I think part of it was that he wanted more money. And he did get a massive raise, so that's definitely part of it.
I mean, you also see that with Tom Brady. You can't retire, unretire, then skip out on half a training camp in preseason and be like, yeah, I'm fully committed, guys. That's part of their locker room issues is that Tom Brady basically skipped out on preseason and half a training camp. And how do you turn around and come back in the huddle and say, I need your full commitment?
Right. Well, that's part of it. And man, the 49ers, that was one of the things I had written down in my notes. Like, how do they come out? Do they come out with urgency? Do they come out looking like their season is on the line? And in the first half, it was a little bit touch and go there for a while. But again, in the second half, they turned it on. And, Kyle Shanahan was 7-30 when trailing at the half. But the last time he came back when trailing at the half, you know who it was against? The Rams in week 18 when they were down 17 points. Maybe, again, I don't know if it's just this one team or whatever, but they did it and they had to do it. So credit to them.
All right. We're far enough in. I'm going to give a dad story here that I think you'll enjoy. And a lot of our listeners will enjoy because it was probably the highlight of the game for me. I got a 2-year-old trying to get her into cheering and all that. I reacted to the first touchdown by the Rams a little too eagerly, and she was right in front of me, scared her. So then I was counting down on the second one, going, all right, we're going to cheer. Ready? 3, 2, 1. And I got her to yell, well, she's potty training right now. And she's off to the side with my wife, and, doors open. I can see her. And, she's going potty. And they scored a touchdown. And while I'm on the couch and she's on the potty, I said, okay, 3, 2, 1. And we both went, woo. And that was one of those dad moments. Like, I'm literally got my kid cheering on the toilet.
Hey, look, we all know you're going to be following the game on the toilet at some point. You might as well start them early. Kyle McAndrews, watching on the YouTube page, says Jimmy Ward trying to punch the ball out with his cast hand. I don't remember seeing that, but that's fantastic. I guess the thing's pretty secure.
I remember Patrick Willis doing that with his club.
Yeah,
he used to use it as a weapon, just batter people. I mean, it's there.
How about this question? This is interesting. Diggs boys watching on the Facebook page. Let's face it, Christian McCaffrey is the best offensive weapon in the Shanahan era. He is him. I mean, Deebo Samuel is a pretty good weapon too. What do you think?
Nah,
So
it's CMC. Part of that might be the position. It's easier to get your running back the ball. You
yeah,
know, if Debo's anywhere in the backfield, teams are concentrating on him because they know there's a good chance he's getting the ball. And if he's running any route, he's got a DB on him, not a linebacker. Whereas as the running back, it's a little bit easier because you're going to get the handoffs. You know, the defense still has to play honest because you're the running back. You're normally back there. That might be a pass play. And then a lot of times when you go out and run a route, it's a linebacker on you. So maybe that's because CMC has an easier time just due to position. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey has multiple seasons like Debo's last year. Put it that way.
I got to just take issue with people because, I tweet out facts about the game like this one. 49ers get a 25-yard play from McCaffrey to start the third quarter. After that, they went 2-yard run, timeout, dropped interception, sack, punt. I said this offense is broken and has been for a long time. At that point, they had 10 points in the game, and they looked absolutely terrible. And now I got people replying to that tweet. Update? It's like, that was true at the time that it was tweeted. Like, that's what Twitter is. It's a reaction in the moment to things that happen. To then go back 2 hours later afterwards and ask for an update. Like, yes, the game continued after that point. Sorry.
It is annoying when people respond to a statistic and it happens to be, it's a bad statistic at the time, but you're just tweeting it out and they're like, oh, you're so negative. It's stats. It's literally a statistic.
Right.
There's no opinion here.
So, yeah. What do you think this offense will look like if Deebo does return in 2 weeks against the Chargers with Deebo and Kittle and CMC? Do you think that there's even more explosive plays to come?
Oh, yeah. I think that there'll be more explosive plays to come. I don't think the offense will look a ton different. I think there'll be packages that could look different. But overall, it'll be a similar offense. It'll just be a lot more effective because there's no ignoring Christian McCaffrey. And a lot of times you got to pull the DB down to account for him in the passing game, which opens up everything else. The thing I hope to see in terms of, a new wrinkle is using Debo and Christian McCaffrey and like motions a lot more. Like motion Christian McCaffrey out and then motion Debo in as the running back. Like completely throw the defense off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because what's going to happen is when Debo goes into motion, you're going to have a cornerback going with him. So you're going to be drawing a cornerback into the middle of the field. Whereas if Christian McCaffrey motions out in the beginning, you're probably going to have a linebacker backing up or he won't go out wide, I would doubt. But, he's going to back off. And then it's the DB coming down to where that linebacker was originally. So it's easier to run because you got a DB instead of a linebacker in the hole. I'd like to see things like that really mess with the defense. Use Christian McCaffrey and Deebo's ability to both be a runner and a receiver as kind of making them interchangeable.
And that's really been the goal from Kyle Shanahan since he got the job. He's always wanted interchangeable parts and
positionless.
Right. Positionless football where anybody can do anything at any time. And we could see exactly what that looks like going forward. And I kind of like that, like, there's not that much game film out on McCaffrey, and they're still going to do all sorts of new things against the Chargers. Like, they're going to have that advantage early on where just they haven't unveiled him yet. So teams are not going to know what to prepare for.
Right. The Chargers got to be kind of, they haven't gotten there yet because they got time before this game. But when they start prepping for this game, they're going to go, what the heck are we doing? Especially if Debo's back. If Debo's not back, might be a little bit easier. But if there's Debo and Christian McCaffrey, it hasn't really truly been seen yet because last week doesn't really count because Christian McCaffrey barely played and didn't really know the playbook yet. So you got two of the best offensive weapons in the game, period. And nobody's truly seen them together. That's got to be a nightmare to game plan against.
Adam on the YouTube page, Deebo and CMC together on the field is going to create huge mismatches. And, Levin, I'm looking in the comments and everybody's positive after a win. And I get that. But now we're starting to see they're going to go undefeated the rest of the way.
No.
Kalo, watching on the Facebook page, looking at the schedule, the Niners can go anywhere from 6-3 to 9-0. Where do you come down on that one? I mean, they got the bye week, then they got the Chargers, then it's Arizona on Monday Night Football in Mexico, then it's home for the Saints, home for Miami, home for Tampa Bay, They have 2 real road games the rest of the year. Week 15 against Seattle on Thursday Night Football, and Week 17 on New Year's Day in Vegas against the Raiders. Other than that, they really don't have a road game because, like I said, the Arizona game is in Mexico. That's a neutral field.
Uh, how do I come down on that? I come down on there's so many dang injuries on this team. I don't like predicting the future because the roster might be completely and utterly different to where you can't predict it. So it makes me like not one to say. But realistically, I think 5-4 is the absolute lowest. Even if they have some injuries, they should be able to go 5-4. It's not the hardest schedule left. They're through the biggest issues in terms of the schedule. High side, I have a hard time saying 9-0. Very hard time saying 9-0 with the inconsistency we've seen. You know, they just got beat by 21 last week.
Right.
So, you know, I'd say 8-1, probably the high side, and I think that's very, very unlikely. I think this team ends up 6-3, 7-2 down the stretch, which puts them probably right in this divisional race because I don't think Seattle's as good as they've been doing. Once they play some real teams, I think if they play any kind of real defense, that offense doesn't do a single thing against a good defense. It's that they can beat teams like the Giants.
I don't know. I'm interested. You know, part of me is like it's Geno Smith, but like
I know.
this is half a season and he's playing really, really well. So, you know, I don't want to. I can't just totally discount that. But when I look at the NFC as a whole, I kind of think like it's pretty much NFC West or bust, I feel like, for the 49ers. Like there are so many. You've got the Eagles are 7-0. The Vikings are 6-1. The Seahawks are 5-3. The Cowboys are 6-2. The Giants are 6-2. Like, I think the Niners' best shot to get into the playoffs is a division rather than a wild card. Would you agree?
Well, duh. You win the division, yeah, that's your best shot.
Well,
But
no,
right
but I
now
mean,
they
they're
are
in
in the
better.
playoffs at 4-4 as a wild card. So I can't sit here and say that it's division or bust. They're in the playoffs as a wild card right now.
That is true, and credit to them for that. They win a tiebreak over Washington based on conference record. But I just feel like if things keep going the way they're going, like I feel much more comfortable about that they'll make the playoffs as the NFC West champions than I will as a wild card because we don't know how the rest of these teams are going to shake out.
I mean, I think 6-3 down the stretch, a 10-7 record with their record in division at this point, I think that would be very, very, very high probability division champ. Put it that way. At 7-2, I would say that's pretty much a stone cold lock that they're division champs at 7-2 finish, which would put them at 11-6. But I really do think 10-7 for the 49ers would win the division because they're going to have tie breaks, and I don't see Seattle finishing better than 10-7.
Brian on the Facebook page says Rob is ignoring us on Facebook. No, I'm not, Brian. Here's the thing. There's a lot of comments, okay? It's hard to host the show and look at the comments at the same time and listen 11. And let's be honest, I have to listen 11 at least a little bit. Are you happy, Brian? Here, I'll throw your other comment. Niners will finish with 10 wins, I believe. It's going to be close. They're going to be right in that ballpark. The Chargers game is going to be interesting, right? Because that's a real threat at quarterback. And when the Niners face Mahomes, he diced him up. And Herbert is certainly capable of doing that. Stafford is not a bad quarterback by any stretch, but their offensive line is banged up. You know, he's not on the same level as Justin Herbert. So I'll be interested to see how the Niners defense looks against him when they come back from the bye.
I mean, clearly the most important game left on the schedule is at Seattle. They can win on the road in Seattle. That will be very, very likely a division clincher in all likelihood. You know, 3 games left after that game, so wouldn't technically lock the division, but it would be highly likely, especially with the Commanders, Raiders, and Cardinals left after that. They should be able to win at least 2 of the 3 out of those, I would think. But no, I really do think as long as they take care of the NFC teams, like I think if they can come away and they lose just one more NFC game down the stretch, they will be in the playoffs either as a wild card or division. I think they have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 games left, so that's 5 wins. So that gets them to 9 wins. I think 9 wins can get you a wild card in this NFC. And if the Niners go 5-1 down the stretch in the NFC, that means they're almost guaranteed the tiebreak because it's by conference record.
And that's a real thing for the Niners. Just get into the playoffs. Just get in, and I know Kyle Shanahan will be like, screw it, I'll take my chances, because he's been the best team in the league and they've not won a Super Bowl. So I think he looks at it as like, that doesn't mean anything. Who cares who is the best team in the regular season? Just get me in the door and I'll game plan it up and scheme this thing up and let's see what we can do. Man, and it's so weird how the schedule changes and evolves during the year. Like, you look at certain games and you're like, well, the Miami game, was that going to be, maybe that wasn't going to be a challenge. Now it's looking like it might be a little bit tougher. Tyreek Hill looks friggin' unstoppable. That Tampa Bay game looked like it was going to be really, really tough. Now with the way Tampa Bay is playing, you're like, damn, man, I don't know. Maybe maybe that's a game the 49ers can steal. Whereas in the beginning of the year, I think I had that one chalked up as a loss.
I mean, put it this way: if the Niners go 5-1 against the NFC down the stretch, they would be 9-3 against the NFC this season.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single team already has 3 losses in the NFC that's in this hunt. The 4-4 are worse teams. The Giants are at 6-2. They have only 2 losses, but they're 6-2. They're full 2 games up. But the Commanders, they're 2-3. The Rams, 3-3. The Packers, 2-3. Tampa's the only team down there that only has 2 losses at this point, which means, of the teams that the Niners would be in the wild card race with, if they go 5-1 down the stretch, they would win that tiebreaker already, because the teams already have 3 losses locked in.
Sarah Webb watching on the YouTube page. The Cardinals give us fits. Yes, they do. We'll have to see.
Hopefully, but here's a good thing. We got the Cardinals in the second half of the season when Kingsbury sucks, and the wheels are already coming off of that team.
I was just going to say, hopefully they're in the midst of their late season spiral. Ryan Hinkamper watching on the Niners Nation YouTube page. It's no coincidence that Kittle had his best game with McCaffrey as a threat out there. When Debo comes back, the Yak brothers will be a 3-headed monster. Yeah, I think it's official. There's been an adoption, or I don't know. There's a new addition to the Yak brothers. That much is clear. I don't know if this is Kittle's best game of the season, but I liked that when they really needed a friggin' score, they weren't drawing up plays for Ray McLeod. They were giving it to CMC, and they went to Kittle, and he got the job done. That was good to see.
Yeah, I don't know why we couldn't just keep calling them the Yak Bros. It could be 4 people.
Yeah, no, I know, but they're brothers. And you don't get a new brother unless 2 things happen. Unless they he was always a brother and he was like a long lost brother that they discovered.
Well, I think there's a very good argument that he's a long lost brother, considering, Kyle Shanahan babysat him as a kid. He's arguably the first brother.
Did you see that Kyle told him when they made the trade, like, oh, we really wanted to draft you, but we just thought we'd wait a little till we got the team better.
Yeah.
All right. Jason's trying to trigger me on the YouTube page. Taysom Hill is going to give us a hard time with his mobile antics. We struggle against shifty backfields. Taysom Hill is a pumpkin. All right. The guy has like 1 big game a year. Give me a break with Taysom Hill.
This is like year 4 with the Taysom Hill stuff for you?
Way to ruin it.
I mean, I've cooled down quite a bit on it. I used to tweet at you anytime he had a single play that was good, which was like once every other week, but
yeah. Mr. J watching on the YouTube page. Tampa Bay a challenge? Oh, please, Rob, not with old man Brady at the reins. Hey, look, he's still Tom Brady. I know he hasn't looked quite the same. I don't want to speculate on this because it's a weird area, but like, he's divorced now. I don't know if that was weighing on him. I don't know if he'll, in a way, because he has a resolution to that, it'll clear his mind and he'll play better. I don't even really like talking about it because it's like, it's his personal life, but I do think it was affecting Tom Brady, the football player. So I don't know what to expect with Brady in that game anymore.
I mean, maybe Giselle got rid of the voodoo doll now that they're divorced. Who knows?
All right. I think we've exhausted everything. Thanks everybody once again. We want to remind you, please continue to rate, review, and follow the Niners Nation Podcast Network. We are so grateful for all your support. Levin is on Twitter at LT Black Niners. I am on Twitter at Stats on Fire. We are the fastest growing 49ers podcast on the planet, and that is due to your support. Thank you. Don't forget, we're going to have the Under Review show with Vish. That's going to be live on YouTube tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to rewatch the game. It's actually the first time since we started the show the Niners have won on a Sunday, so that show is going to be a lot more fun. Please join us for that. Levin, I appreciate you hopping on with me.
Yeah, how's that podcast going to work on the Monday Night Football game? You going to do like a live hour during the game?
That's a good question. Honestly, I haven't even thought of it.
It just occurred to me. It's like, hey, we have a Monday show now. Monday night games. Really throw that one for a loop.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.